Okay, my dear friends, I need a favor from you today. And it's not anything that's going to cost you money, and it's really very simple and easy to do. And it might be the blessing that someone is looking for. I just need you to like, to comment, or to share this video. And it's so simple. All you have to do in the comment section is just thank you. It really helps us with the algorithms of the YouTube. It means we get seen by a lot more people. So post a comment. If you have a prayer request or a question, you can post that as well. I'll be sure to answer them. It will help us and it will help the world out greatly. Thank you. You are a blessing to us and to the world. And until we see each other again, God bless us all. So let's begin our service with an affirmative prayer. Today I'm reading from my book, Whispers of Heaven. And in it I wrote, "There is within me a knowing that is completely conscious of my unity with good. I allow this knowing to flow out into my world. I breathe faith into the greater possibilities of my life." So let's now breathe faith into the greater possibilities of our lives. We do that through affirmative prayer. I'm going to do this prayer in the first person. Take it in for yourself. If I say something that works for you, hold tight to that. If I say something that doesn't work for you, just let that part slide by. But just know this truth with me today. There is but one God, one mind, and one power. And that power is perfect love. And that power is flowing through my life, with me and for me. So here today, I open my consciousness up to all the best ideas God has for me. Ideas of love, health, joy, and prosperity. I know I am here walking the soil of earth so I can know just how much God supports me, God loves me, and God is in awe of me. This is my truth. I celebrate it, I rejoice in it, and I release this prayer into the mind of God to do its good and perfect, bold and dynamic work, returning to me multiplied abundantly. And together we say, and so it is. My talk title today is a new idea. You know, we're in need of a new idea. In fact, we're desperate for one. Raymond Charles Barker, he wrote that we need new ideas as much as we need oxygen. And in fact, I think this is what this whole virus has been about. It's about Earth pushing us to change because we weren't changing enough. And this virus has caused us to make changes in our lives. I think this virus has been as seminal an event in our lives as the Vietnam War or the Civil Rights struggle or even World War II were for previous generations. And in some ways, this has been a confounding challenge because this was a challenge we went through in isolation without community. So it has caused us to rethink and make adjustments to our lives. One of the things I believe is that we're going to be much more grateful for community in the future. I think in the future you're not going to see people sitting at a restaurant table with everybody on their cell phone. We're hungry to be around others. I also think that this challenge has made us realize that perhaps we don't need all the things that we were chasing for, that we can live a simpler life and actually enjoy it more. I think it's made us value our homes and value the safety and security of our homes, and also to know that there's a lot of pleasure that can come from just being comfortable and safe with your loved ones. I had this experience a couple of weeks ago, and I'm sure many of you have shared it. I didn't want to go to the grocery store. I didn't know if there was anything left in the freezer. I went out there, and in the very back was a casserole with a bag of frozen biscuits. Now, exactly where they came from, I'm not so sure. But you know what? I got them out and put them in the oven, and it went from a make-do dinner to a really wonderful dinner. I think that's what 2020 is all about. This year, we're just trying to get through. But I think it is bringing about blessings that we're going to look back and say, this was a pivotal time in our lives. And it ushered in a new season for us where things are easier. There's less stress. We're not chasing things so much. So I think 2020 is going to be a good year in retrospect. Now, in Scripture, it says that our lives can change in a twinkling of an eye. And what that means is us getting a better idea for ourselves. Spirit shows up in our lives as our best ideas for ourselves. Our great ideas are the voice of Spirit announcing itself to the world through us. Unfortunately, a lot of times we don't want to hear a better idea. We'd rather stay stuck in old, miserable conditions because we've gotten comfortable with them. And we're scared of the work that may be involved or the change involved. When I was living in Atlanta, I was a senior vice president of a public relations agency. Kennedy, my teacher, he had a term for people like me. He said we were people who looked really good, but were feeling really miserable. On the outside, it looked like I had the world by the tail. I had a wonderful career. I was making lots of money. And in fact, I was making so much money that I had to question, why wasn't I happier? The money wasn't making me happy. So what could make me happy? And it was a very frightening question for me. One Sunday, I had gone to the center's meeting, and I was sitting there waiting for Kennedy Schultz to come onto stage. And as he walked onto stage, an idea came into my consciousness, and it scared the bejesus out of me. And that idea was, you can do that. It scared me so bad that I don't even remember what else Kennedy had to say. Now, I immediately dismissed that idea. I would not even allow it to germinate in my thinking. But if I had allowed it to germinate in my thinking, I think it could have done me a great deal of good, even if I had never taken a step to the ministry. The one powerful thing it could have done in my life is it could have assured me that there was a way out of my present circumstance, that I did indeed have the ability and the power to make a change. When we raise our vibration up to a greater gift can show up. Our lack and limitations do not come from God, because God does not know lack and limitation. It transcends lack and limitation, and we can as well. We were born with a power that we cannot destroy. It's a spiritual power. And it's one that can bring us peace, it can bring us joy, it can bring us prosperity and happiness. And those things that are around us that make us unhappy, it can transform. And once we recognize it and step up to it, we can create a life of our dreams. But it will not force our good upon us, no matter how desperate we become. Right now, we see so many people who are angry. And I think they're angry because they're living lives that they don't think they deserve. And they think that someone outside of themselves, people over there, are living the life they should, and those people are keeping them from having the good life. They think that there is somebody in their life keeping them from living the life of their dreams. And you know, they're exactly right. There is somebody holding them back. Unfortunately, it just happens to be the person looking at them in the mirror. You're the only person who can keep you from living the life you desire. Better ideas can scare us if we think there's too much work or there's too much pain involved in it. But the work and pain involved in changing is much less than the pain involved in staying in a circumstance that's no longer productive. And of course, once we make the change, we'll look back and wonder, why didn't I do this years ago? All the changes we need to make are inner changes, personal changes, changes in our thinking. And this I can do on my own. I don't need anybody's permission to change my mind. I don't need to wait on the election, the vaccine, or for the virus to go away. I can change my own interior thinking. And the outer life changes when my inner life changes. We've been mistaken to believe that when things outside of us change, then I'll change. I hear people talk about, well, once I find love, I'll be loving. But that's not the way it works. You become loving, and then you attract the love in your life. Life can change for us in ways we have never conceived. And it is always expressing through us, regardless of our age, regardless of the mistakes we've made in the past. In fact, it's because of our little nooks and crannies of our personalities that the light of God's love can shine through to a more perfect light. It's the weirdness in me that allows the perfection of God to shine out onto the world. There's a wonderful documentary that's showed up on Netflix about Dolly Parton. If you get a chance to look it over, it's really a very interesting and uplifting, inspiring documentary. Early in her career, she went to Great Britain, and they show an interview she has with a British reporter. And the British reporter, he asked her, he says, "Do you know people make fun of you?" And she told him, she says, "Well, of course I know people make fun of me." She said, "You can't dress up like I do and go out into the world and not realize that people are making fun of you." She said, "But if they will take a moment and get to know me, get to see the inner person, the inner purpose that I have," she said, "they will come to respect me." And over the years, her life has demonstrated just that. You know, ultimately, she really more than anything, she's a songwriter. They say that she's produced thousands of songs, and many that we will never even get to hear because there's just so many of them. But she's gone on to have an amazing singing career, an acting career. Then she brought industry to the area of her where she grew up to provide people with jobs. And now I think the most amazing thing that she's done is provided books to read for kids who don't have them at home. She has made a huge difference in the world, and she was a person that people just dismissed early on. Kennedy Schultz said, he said, after we accomplish all the things that we can, the things we think we're going to be able to accomplish, there's always going to be more. There's always going to be something greater that we can get to. And it's because we are connected to infinite intelligence. And this infinite intelligence has chosen you to come and experience this life. We separate ourselves from this source by thinking there's something in us that we're missing. There's some part of life that eludes us, that we really can't be as happy or healthy or prosperous without this thing that we are constantly chasing. This is thinking in duality, that there's our life and the life we should be living, and that we're always on the struggle to get that which somehow is just beyond our reach. And of course, this sets up a lifetime of frustration. But that has nothing to do with God. God does not know of frustration. When it created the universe, we hear in Scripture it said, "Let there be light." It didn't say, "I demand light." It didn't say, "If I don't have light, I can't go on." It said, "Let there be." I'm comfortable, I'm safe, I'm perfect right where I am, and light would be even something greater. This is the first prayer of creation, and it's a wonderful example of how we can allow greater living to come into our lives. Be grateful for what you have. I think it's a wonderful exercise of several times a day. You count off 5 things you're grateful for. And if the first couple aren't people or your pets, then give it some consideration. But count off 5 things you're grateful for. And then envision even something greater. Life is always expanding, so there's always more miracles that can show up in our lives. So you take the 5 things you're grateful for, you envision that that's even greater, and pull it from your heart and throw it into the universe. Throw it into the mind of God. And wait on how the life expands, and the joyous and the wondrous and the miraculous will show up. Later on in the documentary about Dolly, they talked to her about the time that she had gotten on the Porter Wagoner show. It was early in her career, and this really brought her a lot of national recognition. But there came a time where she knew she had to leave Porter Wagoner, although she knew it was going to break his heart. And so she wrote her iconic song, "I Will Always Love You." Now, after she wrote the song and it became a big hit for her, Elvis Presley came to her, and he wanted to buy the song. And she told him, "No, I'm happy for you to record it, but I'm not selling my song." And he wouldn't record it. 10 years later, Whitney Houston showed up, and she agreed to sing it and give Dolly the royalties. And of course, she sang it for her movie and made a big, huge, tremendous hit. It's probably the song of her career as well. One of the reporters asked Dolly, they said, "Well, do you feel badly that she made it her own song?" And Dolly said, of course not. She said, "I love the fact that she took that and she made something greater. She was able to do more than I had ever envisioned in that song." You see, Spirit is wanting to bless us in ways we have not even envisioned, to bless our lives, our family, and our nation, to bless our health and our prosperity. Our job is to make our lives a joyful jubilee, singing and praying the best of our lives into creation, turning our hands to help those around us, and lifting our eyes up to a new idea, a new heaven and a new earth, and joy and love and compassion, in singing the best of our hearts and souls out to a waiting universe. Now's the time. We're the people. It's in every one of us. It's the truth in your life today. It's the truth in mine, and so it is.
Come away with me in the night. Come away with me and I'll write you a song. Come away with me on the bus. Come away with me where they can't tempt us with their lies. And I wanna walk with you on a cloudy day, fields with the yellow grass grows knee-high. So won't you try to come away with me, and we'll kiss on a mountaintop. Come away with me and I'll never stop loving you. Don't wanna wake up with the rain falling on a tin roof while I'm safe there in your arms. So won't you try to come away with me in the night? Come away with me.
Let's close our service with an affirmative prayer. If you will, join with me now and know this truth for yourself. There is but one God, one mind, one power. That power is divine love, is creative wisdom. It is the power and the intelligence which set the universe in motion. And that intelligence is now flowing through me. Here today, I recognize it. Here today, I step up into my greater power. Here today, I know that God and I are an answer to any problem I see in my world. So today, I can move out in confidence. I can move out into the world knowing that there's a power and a force for goodness that's attracting to me every great idea of how I can live in more love, more joy, and more health and prosperity. It is what God has prayed for me to be. And today, I am saying yes to it all. This is my truth. I celebrate this right knowing, and I release this prayer into the mind of God to do its good and perfect, bold and dynamic work, returning to us multiplied abundantly. And together we say, and so it is. All right, my dear friends, know this truth with me. Your life is not a problem to be solved. It's a miracle unfolding. Your job this week is to go name your miracle, to proclaim your miracle, and to make it your own. God bless us all. Now, let us go be the miracle God has called us to be. This is Reverend Ken. Until we see each other again, many blessings.